Strange times we're in, friends. I hope everyone is okay and well and with your friends and family during this crazy, uncertain coronavirus outbreak. I mean, I feel like I'm in a movie, but we will get through it. It will pass, hopefully sooner than later. That being said, we should all probably have a little bit more time on our hands these next couple weeks. So why not, make the most of it, be productive, make some music. So I have a tutorial for you. In this video, I am going to show you a couple tips and techniques or methods that you can use to create a fuller, bigger, richer sound for your leads and plucks. So I have this little lead pluck sound here. Which we will use for the demonstration. So super basic, super simple, but it will do. So let's say, for instance, this lead pluck sound, I want to keep it more upfront and in your face. I don't want to push it back and wash it out with reverb. I want to keep it up front. But as it is right now, it's, pretty dry, pretty boring. So we need to do some stuff to beef the sound up, give it a little bit of ambience. So that brings me to my first tip or technique here. So I have this lead going over to these auxiliary tracks, which we'll be using. So the first one we're going to use is a reverb track. So I'm going to grab a reverb. Doesn't really matter what reverb, but what I'm going to go for here is a decay time, a very, very short decay time. So I'm going to pull the decay time all the way down to the shortest possible setting. And then for this reverb, I'm going to pull the wet up, pull the dry all the way down. This is a send track. I don't want the dry signal here. I just want the wet. Okay? And then I also want some pre-delay on this. I want to create a little bit of separation from the actual lead sound and the reverb. So I'm going to push the pre-delay up to about 20 milliseconds or so. And then give it a little bit of low cut as well. Because, yeah. That should do. Now let's send the reverb over there. Or excuse me, send the lead over to the reverb. Okay, that sounds fine. But what I want to do now is compress this reverb. I really want to bring that reverb, out. So you can use whatever compressor, doesn't really matter. But I'm going to use the OTT here for this. Just pull down the depth. I'm going to pull down the depth to around 30% or thereabouts. Okay, I think that will do. And then I'm going to follow that with a EQ, just again to keep things tidy. Cut it around 300, 250, 300 area. And then I'm going to roll off some of the top end as well. Probably around 5K-ish. Okay. And then we could just blend that into taste. Okay, so there we go. We already have a kind of fuller, richer sound. It's kind of, sitting in a space now, and without really compromising what we originally were after, which was a, more upfront type of sound. Because the decay time is so short, the shortest possible, we don't have to worry about these long reverb tails, muddying the mix up and cluttering things where we don't want it to be cluttered. So that's nice. That is the first tip. Really simple to apply as well. Okay, so the second tip that I like to use sometimes, we're going to use another auxiliary track for this, but this time I'm going to go for a saturation plugin. Now you can use you know, whatever kind of saturation or distortion plugin that you want to use. It doesn't really matter so much. It kind of depends on your taste and what you're, you know, if you're looking to get crazy aggressive with it, you can, and still kind of apply this technique, or you can be a little bit more pulled back and subtle. So I'm going to pull the intensity, or push the intensity up all the way on this. This particular saturation plugin doesn't really destroy the sound, so I'm just looking to add a little bit of grit and texture here. So I'm just going to push the intensity all the way up, and then follow this with a EQ. So I'm going to cut the lows at about 500 or so, and then maybe roll off the top end as well, maybe around 10K-ish. Okay, and then I'm just going to mute the dry signal and that reverb, so you can hear just the saturated lead sound. I mean, obviously we're adding some volume there, but we're getting a little bit of, you know, we're getting some added harmonics, we're getting a little bit of grit and just a little bit of texture, and that's really going to help it just pop out in the mix. It's going to help it cut through in the mix, and it's going to give it a little bit more body. It's going to make it sound fuller. Okay, but I don't just want to kind of blend this in and set it at a static position. I want this to react to the lead itself. I think that creates a little bit more of just an interesting dynamic sound. So what I'm going to do is simply just put a peak controller on the lead, and I'm just going to rename that really quick. So I'm going to call this lead peak, saturation send amount. Okay, and then on the send level to the saturation auxiliary track we just set up, I'm going to right click, link to controller, and then I'm going to select or link it to the P controller that we just set up right there. Okay, now you can see that the bass here is controlling the send amount. I'm actually going to keep the bass at 0, and then we can adjust the volume or the amount, which is the volume, to taste. Okay, let's turn these back on. Let's do that. Okay, I think that will do. And then what I also might try is adjusting this tension parameter here. There we go. That's just giving, it's creating the reaction to the lead. It's creating a more of a, just kind of a tighter pluck, because we're controlling the kind of, you know, the tension of the decay, giving it more of a convex or a concave curve. So you can play with that to get, you know, a little bit more fine-tuning control out of how it's reacting to the lead. So that's nice. I like that. A tension curve adjustment that's making it a little bit more tight. Yeah, and that way, you know, the louder sounds, the louder pluck sounds or hits are going to get a little bit more of that saturation. And I just think that sounds a little bit more interesting than just leaving it static. So that's something that I'll do quite often. So now let's hear this lead without the lead saturation or the reverb on it. All right, so as you could hear there, as I'm switching those on and off, I mean, we're getting a much fuller, bigger, richer sound out of that lead pluck with just a few simple, you know, parallel tracks. So that is it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you can take these techniques and you know, use them in your own production and maybe your own way. So let me know if you do. Just a quick note, if anyone's interested in feedback, I offer feedback through Audio. So if you're interested in full detailed feedback on your track, the link for that is in the description. I've actually lowered my prices on that for right now during this lockdown quarantine period. So if you want to take advantage of some lower prices there, get some feedback, the link for that is in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe out there, and I will see you soon. Take care.